Hi, Luciana.
Hola.
Hola. You got such a lovely picture. They're all smiley. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Very good. And Celeste is also with us today. Okay, so this boundaries thing is very, very interesting and very, very important. We always blame the circumstances for behaving in a specific way. And then parents tell their children, I do it because I love you, I do it because of your own goods, and so on and so forth. But if you really are connected, and if you think of what I've just said, you would help your children much more if you would allow them to stay within their own connection and their own guidance, to move forward in the way they are meant to, without us interfering. But that means that you lose control. The parents kind of project their worth on their children. So the achievements of the children remark on the achievements of the status of the parents. It's psychological. And also you have a fear that they won't do well because it's your responsibility. So then what will you do? So I understand there is a responsibility. I understand there is a control. I understand there is an element of wanting them to succeed and so on and so forth. But I learned at school through the years that you cannot push people to succeed when they are not ready. And sometimes you have to allow them to fail in their own terms. And then they catch up. Once they are ready, they catch up lost ground in a much quicker way. Once they are guided, directed, know what they want, and they are aligned to the purpose. What I'm asking people is to live on trust. Work on trust, treat others on trust, honor yourself, and by honoring yourself, honor the rest. And I think 95% of the population of the planet cannot do this because we've been told and we've learned. There are the reasons you dishonor your parents in the maybe Asian cultures. In our cultures, you are lazy, you are not working enough, you are wasting your talents. So with this in mind, people think that they have a permission to walk in your personal space and break through your boundaries. And unless you're like a hawk, like always observing what's happening all around your border, your energetic border, your aura, or the ends. And it's not just from them to you, from you to them too. Because two don't fight if one doesn't want to. It takes two to tango. So I'm not blaming anybody. We're not in the game of blaming. We're in the game of raising our awareness and consciousness to realize that we are letting them do that to us, and we are actually doing that ourselves. There were 4 manipulation dramas. There are 2 aggressive and 2 passive. The aggressive is the interrogator and the intimidator, as per the Celestine Prophecy of James Redfield, which I studied for years and years and years, and that's when I started to heal myself. Really, honestly, because I started to heal the sins of my father, the sins of my mother. So what he says is that you are born of a family, and is your journey through life to rebalance those emotional dramas, release them, and center. So what happens is that when you have a parent that is aggressive, you either turn aggressive yourself or you turn the opposite, which is the passive. And the passives are the victim and the aloof. So the interrogator will ask you questions non-stop to break you down and gain your energy by proving to you that you are not capable. You need a permission. The intimidator will always be angry, and through anger, it will make you be aware of this person because you are scared, because you want to know where they are, because you feel in danger, you feel endangered. And so then you have the choice of turning aggressive yourself or passive. The victim, I have no power, people have to rescue me, people need to do things for me, I can do things by myself, I'm not strong enough, I don't have the resources. And that in itself becomes a control drama because you start sucking energy from people. Oh, would you do this for me? And sometimes you become very, very smooth with it, and a smooth operator. And the aloof is the one who will go, what's the matter? Hi, Jenny. Something must be the matter. No. And then you have to ask them, and you have to go there and bring them out again. They are exhausting, they drain you. So among these 4 control dramas, you will find yourself identified in one or more of these. So what I wanted to ask you is, do you know which control drama you are? do you know who your parents or people around you, very close people to you, are? Once you put your controls in place and your boundaries are strong, not too rigid and not too watery, not too flexible, that you can actually work with people and get out of the way when they throw something at you, you don't get tangled in their web, and you don't let them suck the energy from you because you are able to stay centered. Maybe next week with more specifics and with the circle that I gave you, where you are in the center and everybody's around you, they are allowed in your personal space by invitation only. Nobody has got the right to walk in just because they are your wife or your mother or your father or your daughter or your sister or your brother. They think they have the right, especially mothers, because they gave birth to you. And I hold myself back from walking on each other's boundaries because I don't have that right. Once the person is on the way and their values are settled and they have a right and wrong, clear idea of what right and wrong, then they should be allowed to make the mistakes with your guidance. And the same if you mentor, if you coach, in any profession. If you're a boss, if you're a teacher, if you're a doctor. So first of all, I want to ask you, what do you understand by these boundaries? Do you understand the 4 categories? Where are you at? And whoever wants to start first. Luciana is thinking very deeply.
Well, I can go. I was confused a little bit on this exercise, so I didn't really do it properly.
That's fine.
And well, I don't know. I need to go through more deeply for next week.
Yes.
But I just had like a little experience just now. I went to well, I'm trying to get into. There are a lot of the CAN organizations that they help for the corona.
Oh, okay.
And I get there. It's about distributing clothing, right, for the homeless. And I got there. There was only one person, and I asked her. We start chatting, or what's going on? No one here, la la la. I said, well, what's your name? And she's like,
yeah,
my stage name or my real name?
Okay.
I was thinking, it's just a simple question.
Yeah.
So that put me really off the whole thing. And so I think I lose. Like, oh,
so
really...
Why are you suddenly so important? What is the importance? And so you think, she took you to her place straight away, a flick of her fingers, and you lost your power.
What am I doing here? I want to leave now.
Yes.
If it starts like this.
It's not about you, it's about the person. But because she obviously thinks, I don't trust you, I don't know you. You interpreted that in another way. So we have to consider 2 things. She either mirrors something in you that you disliked because it's haven't resolved, or at that moment she just rebounded from you and you thought, I think I'm going to rethink coming here because the vibe here is not what I wanted or what I thought it would be. What I say is, it's not good or it's bad. The emotion is energy in motion. So allow the emotion to go, and if you have to get angry, so be it, and if you have to get sad, so be it. That is not an issue. And as you said, it doesn't last long. 2 minutes later, you are thinking, and you are considering, and you are redefining, and tomorrow you make a different decision. Or the same, and you go back, but more consciously, and now you find someone who is nicer. And you go, I almost leave this place, and then you are lovely, and I want to stay.
Right,
So,
yes.
but that is the all possibilities on the range of life. So the thing is, you saw it, you realized it, you had a reaction, and it wasn't about the other person, but it was about yourself. Now you take responsibility about the way you feel, and you start thinking about it and make decisions based on that. And you get wiser and cleverer and faster and more strategic as you are thinking this way. So you got all those possible choices. But we're after the choice that will empower us, not the choice that will disempower us. And that requires conscious work. And most people will do, this is too much work. This takes too much energy. This takes too much thinking. But you know what? This is the harder path to the easiest path. Because if you work through this, eventually you start breaking things down, you become quicker. Like everything, practice makes perfect. You become quicker at it. And tomorrow, in 5 minutes, you made a decision. Well, if you don't want to do this work, 10, 20, 13, 15 years later, you are in the same place. And it's like you haven't learned anything from life. And you have the same rebounding reactions. You get people in situations like this, which is why people eventually they start shrinking, because the world is too much. 7 billion people in the planet, all with reactions, broken boundaries, and unresolved emotional dramas. You go there, and it's like a sea infested with sharks. They're all there to bite you, or that's how you feel. Well, eventually, if you do this work, you can get to a place of peace and harmony and say, whoa, 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 whoa. That is not worth my while. Let me reset the button again. I am in control. I do not want to experience something like that. And then, because you have that space in between the core feeling and the reaction of the other person, you have a buffer place, a buffer cushiony space where you can actually give yourself some time to react. You could have said, are you having a bad day? And she would have go, oh yes, thank you. I just came here and I am on my own. And I thought, what the heck am I doing here? And now you become best friends. Like the shock absorbers from a car, there is a bump on the road and you go, oof. And you go, that was not enough to throw me out of balance.
Yes.
While when we are young, spiritually speaking, children, we are raw. Anything that touches us is like, oh, an electric current, and our reaction is enraged, immediate, or we cry, or you can see it in the streets. You go to a shop, there is a queue, somebody does or says something, and everybody goes, rah, and everybody, wow, and suddenly it's Third World War because somebody said, guy, you are one step too close to me, or something. And that's how we're running in the world these days. Get some perspective, get some inner peace, get some centeredness, get some cushion, some shock absorbing aura around you so that I can choose how to react and choose to start becoming someone else and not become that person. And then I'm angry with myself for having reacted, from the person for having provoked it for the whole day. And that whole day is wasted. And now I have to wait until tomorrow to go to sleep, reset the button, start again and say, I'm hoping I'm having a better day today. But why not saying, I give you 5 minutes, work it out, work through it, read a book, have a coffee, go for a walk, settle. And you don't waste your whole day. You go back to your center and you say, how do I want to react the next time? What elements of what I did are good for me? What elements of what I did are not good enough for me? Who do I want to be and what is the standard I want to set? And when you set that standard, you stick there no matter what, because nobody decides who you are and what you stand at. So do you understand what I'm going to? We will do another meeting with this because I knew this was big raw stuff. But this is the bottom line. If we don't resolve this, it's like having a bucket with holes at the bottom, and you keep putting water, and the water keeps coming down at the bottom because our energies are leaking. We are leaking in every direction. How can you gather yourself center and grow and strengthen if the energy is being sucked out of you for anything and everything? You don't even have to be in the street. Someone calls you, or the news on the television, or something that you read. Anything and everything will trigger you because we're really not in control. We're out of control. And that control is not actually control. It's actually a flow with things in a way that we can negotiate them without engaging into everything that life throws at us. So bit by bit, as those energies, those vibrations become less poignant, and the pendulum doesn't swing from extreme, I'm so angry, to extreme, I'm so happy. It's like extreme. It's like we are bipolar.
Yeah.
We are bipolar. Then the pendulum starts centering, and then what happens to you is that everything in your life is like that. So suddenly you start living in a plateau, harmonious plateau of energy where things fall on you and you go, not enough to get me out of center. So you no longer have a little boat. When the storm comes, you just capsize and sink and die and drown. Your boat is, whoa, there's a storm. And you start swinging with the waves, but you don't sink. And you know in your heart, this won't sink me. It may have upset me a little bit, but it won't sink me. And bit by bit, you become stronger and steadier, smoother, and more flowing. And this is what I wanted, and that's what I achieved. But that is a life progression. You get to a point that, like, for instance, if I used to live on 10% of joy and the rest was horror in my mind, craziness and unsteadiness and being lost, not understanding how the world functions and my reactions, and other people's reactions to my reactions, now I feel like 85%. So I say I can sign on that for the rest of my life. So if I get better, anything better, it becomes more incremental. It's like when you learn a language. At the beginning, every learning feels massive. And then later when you're perfecting, the learnings are slower. But you're already on an accomplished base, which means that you're already functioning at a very high level. And now you feel that the world is your friend. And the possibilities and opportunities that come to you are friendly, not unfriendly. You don't feel you are fighting the elements. It is doable. It depends on the person. It can take a while. But I wasn't in a rush, and I didn't have a deadline, because every accomplishment was an anchoring of my energy, a harmonization of my energy, a strengthening of my roots, solidification or steadiness of my whole life. Relationships, work, everything stabilizes. And now you start working a little bit on a game. It no longer affects or attacks your survival. Now you are more at perfection level. You are more at enjoyment, because you say, today I don't want to play. While you are at survival level, you don't have a choice. You go to play whether you like it or not, because the world is on top of you. There is no cushion. There is no shock absorbers. Celeste, do you have anything?
Yes.
In regards to my results, or
any pre-comment? Maybe today don't get too deep into it, because I can see that this is like being hit with the this is like too much, but it is. But when you start getting the concepts and start observing and start making notes on that circle, and you say, somebody made me uncomfortable this week, and you put the name of that person, and you say, why do they think they are entitled to walk inside my personal space? Or why did I allow them to walk into my personal space? That's why you start negotiating the different people in your life, and starts with family and friends. And once you resolve these core ones, the rest will resolve themselves. Because the harder ones are the ones that feel more entitled, who are closer to you. The ones who actually love you more, or have more, they have more on the line if things don't work out. And you know what? That same pressure is what's preventing the relationship from working properly, because there is so much at stake. And somebody has to give the first step. And I decided I will be always giving the first step. Because if I don't, I hurt my own life. And the benefit, secondary benefit, is that they also benefit themselves. But in a very selfish, self-protective, personal development, I can only take responsibility of my life and my energy and nobody else, because I don't have that power. You empower yourself by taking the first step in the right direction. So if you don't have any comments, it doesn't matter. As long as you are listening, maybe today. So Jenny, Jenny's done it with me a bit longer. Do you have any comments?
When I first started to understand these things, the most important thing to get me started is to start to recognize how I feel after interacting with somebody. Because that is the biggest clue to tell you what is going on, like the way you feel. For example, I remember very vividly that one time I was negotiating with a landlord, the place I was staying at, the toilet wasn't working properly. The landlord wouldn't fix it. So we were talking to him. He was really reluctant. He was not taking responsibility. He was just trying to blame us for ruining his toilet, but it was a really old building, things like that. And then after speaking to him, I felt terrible. And it was so out of ordinary because I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't been impolite. He was the one who was the person who is not taking responsibility. So recognizing the bad feelings I get from that man helps me to start thinking, what is that bad feeling? Why do I get this bad feeling even though I didn't do anything wrong? And that's how I can start peeling off the layers to understand what that person was really doing. Like in terms of very subtle manipulation wise. So yeah, so I guess starting to recognize how I feel really helped me. And also another tool to help me recognize my feeling is meditation, because there are a lot of feelings that are so subtle, like people bug you, but the feelings are so subtle, your conscious mind don't recognize them. You don't even know that's how you're feeling. So when in meditation, I would have a notebook, and if I notice a certain emotion that comes up, I would put it down, and then afterwards I look at the notes and I know what I can work with, like what emotions I'm feeling, and to try to find out what they may indicate. So so I would say if when I'm confused, I will always go back to my meditation, my feelings, and start from there. And that's how I've been doing it since Anna have taught me how to.
And more or less, I also do it like that. So there is an element of analysis. There is an element of conscious awareness. There is an element of record keeping. There is an element of being willing to take responsibility. There is an element of not judgment and not blaming, because that doesn't conduce to anything. And there is an element of self-forgiveness, because you say, I may have done it really bad, and I could have done a much better job, I could have had a much better reaction. But regardless of what happened as the past, am I willing to learn from this? And if you, with that attitude, you break it down into small pieces, like when you're having dinner, you don't eat the whole thing in one go, you eat one, you chew it, you swallow, you integrate, you say, next. So you're a little bit in control of what's thrown at you. And as you start creating that space, you start being able to, like a conductor of orchestra, now you, now you, now you, now everybody. Then you get the whole feeling at the end, and you know at the end of the day whether you were successful or you were not. And this is the base to life, as we know it, because life is relationships. As much as we want to think it's just us, it's us within a context. And the context is people, because we are social animals. You can withdraw from society, some people do. But what I'm talking about is being functional in a way that you don't get hurt and you don't hurt others. You are in command of your destiny as much as you can, knowing that a big element of being in charge of your destiny means that your destiny will throw at you what it needs to, so that you go where you said you wanted to go. That's a whole lot of faith. And most people don't want to work on faith. They want to work on black and white or on real. I want to see it, I want to feel it, and you will. But the process is based on faith. And that's what I did for the first 10 years when I went into spirituality. It was on faith. I knew I was doing the right thing. I knew I was giving the right steps. I didn't know where it was taking me, but I knew I had to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. I knew I must not stop. And I never did. So now it's easier because it becomes easier. You carve a path, and you get strategies, you get tools, you get a toolbox. You start understanding how it works for you, how it can get better for you. In that sense, I say you are in charge of your destiny. Not that you can tell destiny what it's going to give you, but that you are able to cooperate and co-create and interact in ways that are conducive to positive outcomes.
Mm.
So look, we've done half an hour. This is a lot. Whew. And I've been doing this for a long time, but actually to explain it, I think you got it. I think at least you got the gist, which is great. Now you need to start applying it in your lives. So what we can do, now that you have the concepts, maybe you'll understand the page a little bit better, and then you can put a circle and start working on your boundaries and the people around you. And I'm sure something will come up for next week. Some enlightenment, some realization, some clarity. Luciana?
And I'm just confused. Why would you put someone in your circle?
Only at their invitation, if you want them to be there. So basically, let's say your father. Your father is in your circle because you love him and he loves you and you are happy together, let's say. But there is a moment that you need a space on your own and you tell him, now you go. And he doesn't want to go. So now he's not under invitation, now he's taking liberties. At that moment, you need to have a resolve or a strategy or something to allow him to go without him feeling that you don't love him or you are pushing him away.
So you would draw someone you're close to, I guess, in the circle, and then people you don't really know outside the circle.
The people that you don't know, don't even think about it, but your best friends and your family, try to work out, what are they? Are they passive? Are they aggressive? Are they passive? Or are they mixed? And try to find a couple of examples. For instance, when my mom talks to me, she sounds like this, and she makes me feel like this, and I react like this. So she's being this, and I'm being this. So you're starting to pinpoint specifics. And with that, you start drawing a picture.
And for yourself as well.
Yeah, you are the core. You are the core of this game. So we continue to work through WhatsApp. Ask any questions there. The group will benefit. I think this is going to really be very enlightening for you all, because it's such a wonderful, massive, incredible advantage to have in life. You want to finish off with anything? No? Then thank you so much for coming. And I'll see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anna.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Do we leave?